You keep wondering why life went silent, why the same doors that once opened with ease now stay closed no matter how much you knock, why the world seems to have forgotten your name, and why Allah feels quiet, almost too quiet. You pray, but the answers don't come. You try, but nothing moves. It feels like you've been buried, like Allah hid you somewhere. No one can find you, and your heart whispers, "Ya Allah, did you leave me?" But what if He didn't leave you at all? What if He's protecting you from being seen too soon? Because before Allah reveals you to the world, He hides you inside lessons no one else will understand. He takes away your audience so He can fix your intention. He empties your life of people so He can fill it with purpose. He delays every answer so your faith stops depending on timing and starts depending on Him. You think you're falling behind, but you're being positioned for something that can't fail. You think you're invisible, but you're being written in ink the world hasn't read yet. And one day, when Allah finally lifts the curtain, people will say, "Where did you come from?" And you'll smile, because you'll know the truth. You were never gone. You were growing underground. So if you're in the season of silence right now, don't panic, don't rush, don't curse the hiddenness, because you're not being buried, you're being built. This isn't the end of your story. This is the part where Allah is writing the version of you the world isn't ready to see yet. You thought you were falling behind. You thought the silence meant Allah forgot you. You prayed, worked, and waited, yet the door stayed shut. It's hard to understand why He'd take something that felt right. But what if what you lost was actually what saved you? What if Allah hid you, not because you were unworthy, but because that opportunity was too small for the destiny He's building for you? He's not ignoring you. He's protecting you. He's not delaying you. He's positioning you. Sometimes Allah hides you from opportunities so you don't miss the one opportunity that will define your entire life. The opportunity you lost was the shield you needed. You begged for that chance. You prayed until your voice trembled. You stayed awake at night, replaying the same prayer over and over again, believing that this time Allah would say yes. You imagined how your life would change if that door opened. You pictured the peace, the joy, the success. You told yourself, "This is the moment I've been waiting for," but the door stayed locked. The call never came. The message never arrived. And silence became your only answer. You stood there, staring at what felt like failure, and your heart whispered, "Ya Allah, why would you do this to me?" But what you didn't see was that Allah was saving you quietly, mercifully, completely. He saw what your eyes couldn't. He heard the conversations you weren't meant to hear. He knew the roads that looked bright from the outside, but ended in darkness and regret. He saw the people smiling at you, while planning to break the very heart that was praying for them. He saw the pressure hiding behind that position you wanted. He saw the emptiness hiding behind that dream you chased. He saw the arrogance that success would have planted inside you. So He stepped in, and He said, "No," not because you were unworthy, but because you were being protected, not because He wanted to punish you, but because He wanted to preserve you. You don't see it now, but one day you will. You'll look back at this moment of loss and realize it wasn't a loss at all. It was the beginning of something sacred. Allah took it away because He knew that if you got what you wanted, you'd forget who gave it. He closed the door to stop you from walking into a room that would have broken your faith piece by piece. Sometimes Allah protects you by removing you. Sometimes He saves you by hiding you. Sometimes His mercy looks like rejection. You call it heartbreak. He calls it healing before the wound even begins. He doesn't just protect your life. He protects your iman. Because what good is a dream that feeds your ego, but starves your soul? What good is a blessing that pulls you away from the one who blessed you? You thought that job was your chance. You thought that person was your answer. You thought that plan was your peace. But Allah saw the storm behind it all. He saw the fire hiding in the gift you wanted. So He put it out before it reached your heart. You think you're empty now, but He's making room. He's clearing space for something purer, something that fits who you're becoming, not who you used to be. Because sometimes you're not losing something, you're shedding a version of yourself that can't carry what Allah has written for you next. He's not saying never. He's saying not yet. He's not saying you can't have it. He's saying you deserve better than this. And that's why He closed that door with His own hand. He did it with precision. He did it with mercy. He did it with love so deep you can't recognize it through the pain. He heard the dua you whispered with tears. But He also heard the conversations behind closed doors. He saw the pressure behind the spotlight you begged for. He saw how quickly pride could enter a heart that wasn't ready for success. So He delayed your arrival to protect your humility. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. You're not being left behind, you're being lifted differently. And the only reason it hurts is because your timeline collided with His wisdom. If you only knew how many tears He stopped before they ever reached you. If you only knew how many disasters were diverted while you complained about delay. If you only knew how many nights He spent guarding your heart while you thought He was silent. He was never silent. He was speaking in protection. Every closed door said, "You're not ready yet." Every delay said, "I'm still preparing the place for you." Every silence said, "Trust me longer." And that's the part that breaks most hearts. We trust until it hurts, and when it hurts, we think Allah forgot us. But the truth is, pain is usually the echo of divine protection. You didn't fail. You were rescued. You didn't lose your blessing. You lost a battle that would have cost your soul. Because Allah doesn't just answer prayers. He guards you from the ones that would have destroyed you if they were answered too soon. You asked Him for peace, so He removed what was disturbing your peace. You asked Him for success, so He took away the version of success that would have made you arrogant. You asked Him for love, so He delayed the one who would make you forget His love. Everything He took, He replaced with something unseen. You just haven't reached the chapter yet. Maybe the delay isn't about timing. Maybe it's about transformation. Maybe Allah is waiting for you to outgrow the version of yourself that keeps asking for things that don't belong to your destiny. Because the truth is, if you saw what He saw, you'd beg Him to take it away faster. If you saw what He protected you from, you'd fall to your knees and cry in gratitude. But you don't see. You trust. And that's the test. Faith is built in the unseen. Patience is built in silence. And gratitude is built in pain. So when the next door closes, don't break down, bow down. Say, "Ya Allah, I don't understand, but I trust you." Because trusting Him in confusion is higher than praising Him in clarity. That's real submission. That's real faith. He's not done with you. The door that closed was never the final one. It was just the wrong one. And the reason you're crying now is because your heart hasn't met what was truly written yet. So breathe. You didn't lose your moment. You lost what would have made you miss your moment. You didn't lose your blessing, you lost a burden disguised as one. And you didn't lose your chance, you were saved from a mistake wearing the mask of opportunity. One day you'll look back and say, "If Allah had let that door open, I would have walked straight into the end of my peace." The pain you feel right now is not the punishment of loss. It's the sound of your destiny being protected. And when the right door opens, You'll understand why every other one had to close. When silence becomes Allah's loudest answer. You asked for a sign, but only silence answered. It felt like the world moved without you, and you were left in a quiet room with your thoughts. You wondered if your words reached the sky, or if they fell back into your chest unheard. You checked your phone again, you checked your heart again, you checked the same door again, and the same silence stood there, calm and unmoved. You told yourself you would be strong, but strong felt heavy in the dark. You tried to smile at people, but the smile was only on your lips, not in your eyes. You tried to make a new plan, but even your plans sounded tired. You asked, "Why is there no answer?" And the silence said, "I am the answer." Silence is not empty. It is full of the things you cannot see yet. It holds the timing you are not ready to carry, and the knowledge your heart cannot hold right now. It is a blanket Allah places on a loud world, so you can finally hear what matters. You think Allah didn't speak, but He did. He spoke by keeping a door shut, by stopping a call that would hurt you, by delaying a meeting that would ruin your peace. He said, "Stay." He said, "Wait." He said, "Trust." And He said it without a single word. There is a kind of love that does not rush you. There is a kind of mercy that sits with you quietly. There is a kind of guidance that feels like nothing is happening, and then one morning you wake up different, lighter, softer, wiser, without even knowing when it began. You think growth is loud, but the strongest trees grow in silence. Roots do their best work where eyes cannot see. Night does its best healing when no one is watching. Your soul is learning stillness, and stillness is a language that unlocks doors. You wanted a map. Allah gave you a pause. You wanted a fast road. Allah gave you a gentle path. You wanted a quick yes. Allah taught you a better question. Who do I become while I wait? Maybe your heart speaks too quickly, and silence is teaching it to listen. Maybe your mind runs too far ahead, and silence is teaching it to walk beside Allah's plan. Maybe your hands try to control what is not yours, and silence is teaching them to open. You think you are alone in this quiet, but angels sit with those who remember their Lord. They record the breath that trembles when you say, "Ya Allah." They witness the tear that falls with no sound, and they carry it like a gem to the sky. Silence separates noise from truth. It reveals which desires were pure and which desires were only fear wearing a beautiful face. It shows you that not every want is a need, and not every need must be now. When you stop fighting the quiet, you begin to hear your life. You hear the ache you ignored. You hear the prayer behind your prayer. You hear the small voice that says, "I don't want just an answer. I want the one who answers." Sometimes the best thing Allah gives you is time to grow into the answer you asked for. Sometimes the best thing He protects is the part of you that would break if the gift arrived too soon. Sometimes the best thing He heals is the hunger that made you chase what harms you. You say, "But I did everything right." He says, "I am protecting what you cannot see." You say, "Everyone else is moving." He says, "I am moving the world around you while you rest." You say, "I feel forgotten." He says, "I am closest when you feel this way." Look at your life with softer eyes. Count the disasters that did not happen. Count the people who were removed before they could wound you. Count the roads you did not take, and the cliffs you did not fall from. Silence is a wall around your garden. You don't notice it until a storm passes by, and you are still standing. You want answers to remove fear. Allah gives presence to remove the need for answers. You want certainty to end doubt. Allah gives trust that turns doubt into devotion. You want control. Allah gives surrender, and surrender is peace in any weather. There is a prayer that only pain can teach. There is a peace that only patience can open. There is a maturity that only silence can plant. When the world is quiet, your heart becomes a classroom, and Allah becomes your only teacher. You think nothing is happening while you wait. Yet look at your tongue. It remembers Him more. Look at your hands. They harm less. Look at your eyes. They cry and then soften. Look at your nights. They turned into conversations with the merciful. Silence is shaping your intention. Silence is cleaning your dream. Silence is giving your soul back to you. The same you who was exhausted by chasing people is now warmed by a single sajda in the dark. The same you who believed the door defines your value and now knows your value was written before any door was built. You asked for a sign in the sky. He gave you a sign in your chest. The calm that doesn't make sense. The patience you didn't have before. The choice to be gentle with yourself. The courage to hold your tongue. Of the faith to say, Alhamdulillah, even when you still don't understand. You are learning the rhythm of mercy. Inhale, trust. Exhale, control. Inhale, remember. Exhale, compare. Inhale, hope. Exhale, fear. One breath at a time, you come back to the one who never left. Some nights you will break again. Let it happen. Tears wash the dust off your heart. Sobs unclench the fists of your soul. When the wave passes, you will find yourself lighter, like a shore after a storm. Talk to Allah as if you can see Him. Tell Him everything you cannot tell anyone. Tell Him the small things, the silly things, the things that embarrass you. He already knows, but you need to hear yourself let go. You will be tempted to force an answer. You will want to send the message, push the door, make the moment happen. But forced fruit is bitter. Let the tree keep its time. Let Allah be the gardener of your story. Every silence has a secret. Sometimes it is saving you from an argument that would leave scars. Sometimes it is saving you from a purchase that would chain your heart. Sometimes it is saving you from saying yes to a promise that empties you. Sometimes it is simply saving your energy for the day the right door opens. There are lights that look like guidance and are not. There are shadows that look like loss and are not. Allah knows which is which. He dims one for you, and you think He forgot you. He brightens the other slowly, and you think nothing is happening. Then one day, the room is full of mourning, and you cannot find the exact minute it began. Do not fear the quiet. Fear the life that is so loud. You cannot hear your soul. Do not fear the pause. Fear the rush that pushes you away from the one you love. Do not fear the waiting. Fear the wish that ignores wisdom. Your dua did not disappear. It was planted. Seeds are silent before they are seen. Roots arrive before flowers. Strength arrives before beauty. What is yours is growing toward you. One quiet day at a time. Remember the prophet who waited in a cave. Remember the prophet who waited in a whale. Remember the prophet who waited in a prison. Greatness often enters the world through a door named patience. You are not late. You are in the sacred hallway, between prayer and opening. Speak to the silence as a friend. Say, teach me. Say, calm me. Say, show me who I am without noise. Let it tell you where your fear hides. Let it show you which hopes are clean and which hopes are only hunger. If you listen deeply, you will notice a new sound. The sound of a heart that does not beg to be seen. The sound of a mind that does not race to be first. The sound of a soul that is enough, because Allah is near. When people ask why you are so calm, tell them the truth. I stopped arguing with Allah's timing. When they ask how you learned that, tell them, by sitting in rooms where only He could hear me. You will not always feel strong. Some days you will feel like a thin thread holding a heavy world. On those days, shrink the world. Make it the space of a prayer mat. Make it the length of a single breath. Make it the time it takes to say, Hasbi Allahu wa ni'mal wakil. Then watch how a thread can hold mountains. When Allah holds the thread, silence is not doing nothing. It is letting the doctor work. It is letting the architect measure. It is letting the author write the next page, without your shaking hand smudging the ink. One day, the same quiet that made you cry, it will make you smile. The same pause that scared you will feel like home. The same no that hurt you will sound like the kindest yes you ever received. You will look back and see how every unanswered call was a shield, how every delayed message was a mercy, how every closed door saved you from a room full of regrets. You will see how Allah spoke to you the whole time, in a language deeper than words. For now, keep your heart soft, keep your tongue clean, keep your hands useful, keep your prayers steady. Do the next right thing quietly, and let Allah turn quiet deeds into loud blessings. There is a sunrise coming that belongs to you. It is not late. It is precise. It will arrive when your gratitude is ready to hold it, and your patience is strong enough to protect it. Until then, sit with the silence like an old friend. Let it braid hope into your worry. Let it fold peace into your chest. Let it place your head on the shoulder of trust. Let it remind you, over and over, the one you call is listening, even when the world is not. If you still ache tonight, place your hand on your heart and say, Allah is with me. He knows. He sees. He is not late. Then rest like a traveler who believes in the morning. You did not lose your way. You learned how to walk without noise. You did not lose your voice. You learned how to speak with tears. You did not lose your Lord. You learned how close He is when all is still, and when the door finally opens, you will walk through it softly, without fear, without rush, without pride. You will carry the quiet with you like a secret garden. You will touch the blessing gently, because silence taught you what it costs to receive. This is how silence becomes the loudest answer. It changes the asker. It turns "Why me?" into "Alhamdulillah for me." It turns "When?" into "As you will." It turns "Give me" into "Guide me." And in that turning, the heart arrives before the feet do. If tonight still hurts, let it be the night you choose trust again. Place your hope where time cannot steal it. Place your plans where mercy can hold them. Place your name in the hands that wrote it. The room is quiet now. Your chest rises and falls. A small prayer leaves your lips. No thunder follows, no sudden sign. Just a calm so gentle it feels like light. That calm is an answer. Keep it, guard it, grow in it. Because sometimes Allah speaks the loudest by teaching your heart to be still. And when the heart is still, every path becomes clear, every delay becomes sweet, and every silence becomes a doorway to Him. The separation that saved your soul. You thought they were meant to stay. The way they entered your life felt too precise to be an accident. The conversations that made you feel seen. The laughter that filled the silence you were afraid of. You believed this was the kind of bond Allah sends to make the journey easier. And then, one day, without warning, it broke. No fight big enough to explain it, no reason that made sense, just distance, like a fog between hearts. Their number was still the same, but their soul had already walked away. You sat in the quiet and tried to understand. Why would Allah bring someone into my life, only to take them away? What you didn't see is what he saw. He saw the direction your heart was beginning to lean, how their voice slowly became louder than your own, how your peace began to depend on their presence. He saw a kind of love that was starting to replace the one who gives love. So before attachment became addiction, he intervened. Separation is never cruelty when it comes from Allah. It is surgery. It is the unseen mercy that removes what you would never remove yourself. It feels like breaking, but it's really the sound of chains being cut. Some people are meant to meet you only to wake you. They arrive to reflect the part of you that still needs healing. And when the lesson is done, their chapter ends. Not because you failed, but because the story was already complete. You begged for them to stay. But sometimes Allah has to close a door. Before your soul walks into a fire it thinks is warmth. He knows how deeply you feel. He knows how loyal you are, and how your loyalty, when misplaced, can drain you dry. So he pulls you back. He tears you away from hands you were never meant to hold, because he loves you too much to let you shrink for someone else's comfort. There were signs, weren't there? Moments you ignored, conversations that felt off, little cracks you painted over with hope. You told yourself, love can fix anything. But Allah doesn't send love to fix. He sends it to teach. He wanted you to learn that no matter how much someone mirrors your heart, they are not your source. They are only a reflection of how deeply you can feel. The source is still him. Every time someone walks away, you find pieces of yourself left behind in their shadow. You spend months trying to gather them, but one day you realize you never lost anything permanent. What was real stayed. What left was meant to leave. If they were written in your destiny, nothing could have pulled them away. And if they weren't, no amount of holding on could have kept them. So you stop chasing. You start accepting. You let the ache breathe. You let the tears teach. You learn that closure doesn't come from a final conversation. It comes from understanding that Allah wrote this ending long before the first hello. Every heartbreak redraws the map of your heart. It clears the space that false love occupied. It makes room for peace to live there again. Pain carves out emptiness, and Allah fills emptiness with Himself. You don't need to hate them to heal. You don't need to erase the memories. You just need to outgrow them. The same moments that once made you cry will one day make you smile, because you'll see what they taught you, to depend less on people and more on Allah. It's strange how distance can reveal truth. When they left, you discovered what you thought was companionship was sometimes distraction. What you called care, it was sometimes convenience. What you thought was love was sometimes attachment wrapped in longing. And you were searching for safety in human hands when Allah's hands were already holding you. You may still dream about them. You may still wonder what they're doing. That's okay. Memories don't mean you failed to move on. They mean your heart once trusted deeply. But now, it must trust differently. If Allah wanted them to return, He could flip every circumstance in a second. So the fact that He hasn't means their absence still serves your protection. Sometimes the gift is not in reunion, but in release. And release is not weakness. It is worship. Every time you choose to let go, you are saying, Ya Allah, I trust your plan more than my preference. And that sentence is the key to freedom. You may walk alone for a while, but in that loneliness, you will find a version of yourself you never met before. A stronger, quieter, wiser soul. You will learn how to sit with your pain without rushing to replace it. You will learn how to fill your evenings with remembrance instead of replaying memories. You will learn how to love yourself in a way that doesn't depend on being loved back. That's how separation saves you. It burns away everything that was borrowed. It leaves behind what is eternal. It teaches you that loss is never the end. It's the beginning of being found. One day, you'll meet someone new, maybe a friend, maybe a partner, maybe an opportunity, and this time, your heart will be quieter. You won't rush to give it away. You'll walk slower. You'll speak softer, because pain taught you how fragile peace is. You will thank Allah for the lessons the past gave you. You will forgive without needing an apology. You will wish them well without needing them back. And that's when you'll know. The separation was never punishment. It was purification. You were not abandoned. You were being realigned with your purpose. You were being pulled away from what could not follow you into your next chapter. The loneliness was only a bridge between versions of yourself. Soon, you will stand on the other side. Stronger, lighter, clearer. You'll look back and whisper, Ya Allah, thank you for removing what I begged you to keep. And the angels will record that whisper, because gratitude, born from pain, is one of the purest forms of worship. So let them go. Let them become a story that taught you something sacred. Let Allah decide who returns and who doesn't. He never subtracts without replacing. And when He replaces, He gives you peace instead of presence, contentment instead of closure, Himself instead of them. That is how separation saves your soul. It strips away the illusion that you needed anyone to complete you and leaves you with the truth. You were whole all along. You just needed to be broken enough to see it. The door that looked holy but led nowhere. It looked so right. The kind of opportunity that almost made you cry from gratitude. Everything about it felt pure. Every sign seemed to point toward it. You told yourself, this must be the one. This must be what Allah prepared for me. And then it closed. No warning, no explanation, just a door that refused to move. You pressed harder, thinking maybe effort was the missing key. You prayed longer, thinking maybe tears could turn the lock. But the more you pushed, the heavier it became, as if heaven itself was saying, stop. At first, you didn't believe it. You thought Shaitan was whispering doubt. You called it a test of perseverance, not realizing it was a test of surrender. Because not every door that looks holy leads to a place Allah wants you to go. Some doors shine with a false light. They wear the perfume of piety and the language of faith, but behind them waits exhaustion, pride, or heartbreak. They promise closeness to Allah, yet they hide a path that slowly pulls you away. And so, out of mercy, Allah blocks it. You cry, thinking you've lost guidance, but in truth, you've been guided away from danger. You say, Ya Allah, it looked so perfect. And He replies, perfection was the disguise that kept you near me. You see, your heart can mistake admiration for calling. It can confuse emotional comfort for divine confirmation. You hear someone speak beautifully about faith and assume your destinies must intertwine. You see a chance to serve, to build, to belong, and you forget to ask if belonging there will cost you your peace. Allah never wants faith to become fatigue. He never sends light that burns the one it touches. So when He darkens a door you swore was sacred, He is not rejecting your sincerity. He is protecting your sincerity from being exploited. There are people who wear the right words, but not the right hearts. There are opportunities that mention His name, but seek their own fame. There are paths that begin in dawah and end in distraction. And sometimes you need to lose what looked holy, so that you can rediscover what is holy: silence, prayer, and the safety of His nearness. You didn't misread every sign. Some signs were tests, not confirmations. Allah wanted to see whether you loved the path or the one who placed the path. And when the path disappeared, He waited to see if you would stay with him or chase what left. That moment when the holy door shut, that was your graduation from needing validation in human form. It was Allah saying, "Worship me, not the way you hope to reach me." He wanted to strip away everything that could compete for your devotion. It hurts when what looks sacred breaks. You feel betrayed by your own hope. You question your intuition. You say, "But it made me better, didn't it?" Yes, it did, but only because he used it as a mirror, not as a destination. The purpose was to show you what your soul is still attached to. When you finally saw that, the door's job was done. Not every lesson is meant to last forever. Some appear like teachers who leave the moment you understand. You keep calling them back, but heaven already wrote the final bell. You ask why faith sometimes tastes bitter. It's because purification never tastes like comfort. Allah purifies by removing illusions one by one. He doesn't want you to confuse emotional excitement with spiritual elevation. He doesn't want your heart to think His approval must always feel easy. He wants you to remember that truth and peace are not always loud or bright. Sometimes they are quiet refusals, unanswered texts, cancelled meetings, delayed flights. Each one whispers, "Not this one." And those whispers save lifetimes. Because if every door opened when you knocked, you would walk straight into walls of pride. You would mistake access for acceptance, attention for affection, crowds for connection. You would stand under lights that looked like guidance, but cast long shadows over your sincerity. Allah sees those shadows long before you do. He knows which stages would corrupt your humility, which friendships would drain your remembrance, which positions would make you forget the sujood that built you. So He hides you. He lets others go ahead because He is protecting the part of you that would not survive their route. You don't need to fear the closed door. Fear the door that opens easily and leads you away from who you are. Fear the comfort that silences your remembrance. Fear the success that erases your need for prayer. So when Allah blocks what you called a blessing, take a step back and breathe. Ask not, "Why me?" but "What are you saving me from?" You will not hear thunder. You will hear a stillness that feels heavier than words. That stillness is safety. That stillness is love disguised as distance. Maybe that project you wanted would have fed your ego. Maybe that person you prayed for would have softened your discipline. Maybe that place you longed for would have distracted your heart. Allah saw the chain before you saw the charm. He saw the poison before you tasted the cup. He saw your light beginning to depend on something other than Him. And He couldn't let that happen. Because once the heart bows to anything besides Him, it forgets the sound of its own freedom. So He closed it, gently, quietly, completely. You tried to pry it open again. You begged, bargained, promised, but nothing worked. And that is mercy too. Because if even one of your tears could have reopened it, you might have walked straight into harm. Every unanswered prayer is a shield. Every delay is a doorway being rebuilt correctly. Every no is a rope pulling you back before the cliff. The day will come when you'll thank Him. You'll see the path you almost took, and how it ends in exhaustion for others. You'll whisper, "Subhanallah, you knew." And He will whisper back into your heart, "Didn't I promise to protect you?" You will smile through the memory of what once broke you. You will realize you were never being tested for pain. You were being taught discernment, the ability to tell the difference between good and God-sent, between light and reflection, between noise and guidance. This is why Allah hides certain things behind beauty. He wants to see if you can love Him beyond aesthetics, if you can choose principle over pleasure, if you can walk away even when something glows. The real sign of maturity is not chasing everything that feels spiritual. It is pausing to ask, Will this bring me closer, or just look like it will? And when you can answer that honestly, you stop needing every door to open. You learn to stand with peace in front of the locked ones, because now you know, sometimes the holiest thing Allah can do for you is keep you exactly where you are. Sometimes the real miracle is not arrival, but restraint. Sometimes protection feels like loss, and loss is how He keeps your soul safe for the future He's still writing. So when you see a door gleaming with promise, don't rush. Pray first, walk slow, listen deeply. If it's truly yours, the handle will turn with ease. If it's not, it will stay still, no matter how many times you knock. And the peace that follows the closed door, that's your answer. Because the path that leads to Allah never asks you to chase what forgets Him. It never drains your heart to fill your hands. It never needs you to prove your worth to what was never written for you. Every time a door looked holy and led nowhere, you weren't misled, you were taught. You learned to see through light that blinds. You learned to love the giver more than the gift. You learned that even endings can glorify Him. So walk on. Keep your faith gentle and your eyes open. Remember, the wrong door can wear the right name, but Allah's mercy knows every disguise. He will never let you be fooled for long. And when the true door opens quietly, simply, without drama, you will step through it smiling, because you will recognize the feeling. It won't excite your ego. It will calm your heart. That calm is how you'll know this one is from Him. And you'll look back at all the others, the glittering, golden, holy ones that never opened, and you'll whisper with tears of gratitude, Alhamdulillah, for every door that led nowhere, because they all led me back to you. The hidden season that builds the invisible you. There are seasons when life grows so quiet it almost frightens you. No messages, no movement, no proof that anything is working. You wake up and feel like you are standing inside a pause that never ends. The world keeps running, and you keep waiting for a sign that you still belong in it. You used to have noise, people, plans, purpose. Now you have only stillness and long conversations with yourself. You tell yourself, maybe I've fallen behind. Maybe Allah forgot me. But He hasn't. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. Every great story has a hidden chapter, the part no one celebrates because no one sees it. The time before the recognition, before the reward, before the realization. This is your chapter, the hidden season that builds the invisible you. Allah hides the seed in darkness before He lets it touch the light. If you looked into the soil, you'd think the seed was dead. You'd walk away and say, nothing is happening here. But underground, a revolution is taking place, quiet, unseen, unstoppable. Roots are spreading, strength is forming. What looks lifeless is preparing to bloom. That is you. You are the seed. Your prayers are the rain. Your patience is the soil. Your faith is the sunlight that hasn't reached yet but soon will. Allah is not making you wait to hurt you. He's keeping you underground to strengthen what no eye can see. Because if He brought you out too soon, the world's wind would destroy what hasn't rooted yet. Early success is fragile. Premature exposure breaks the unprepared. But hidden seasons build the kind of souls that storms can't destroy. You think nothing is happening, but listen closer. Your silence is shaping you. Every unanswered prayer is carving depth. Every lonely night is stretching your heart to fit the blessing that's on the way. Every delay is a lesson in disguise, teaching you that your worth is not measured by motion. The world praises what is seen. Allah loves what is sincere. So He hides you from applause to teach you how to serve without needing it. He takes you away from the stage, to purify your intention before the spotlight returns. He makes you unseen so that when you finally rise, you carry peace instead of pride. Hiddenness is not punishment, it's protection. He's removing noise from your life so you can hear his voice again. He's slowing your pace so you can stop chasing shadows. He's quieting the world so your heart can become loud with remembrance. There are things being built inside you right now that could never grow in the crowd. Patience, humility, wisdom, empathy. They're sacred plants that only grow in still soil. And that's why Allah separated you. He wanted to teach you the beauty of roots before the beauty of flowers. If he let you bloom in public before you grew in private, you would confuse attention with purpose. You would start performing instead of progressing. And Allah loves you too much to let you live shallow. So he hides you where no one claps and no one calls your name, so that when your name is finally spoken again, it carries weight, real weight, weight that comes from sincerity, not popularity. Do you know what happens in the hidden season? Your dua changes. It stops sounding like, "Give me what I want," and starts sounding like, "Make me who I need to be." You stop asking for doors and start asking for the strength to wait for the right one. You stop craving speed and start craving alignment. You begin to understand that being hidden is not the opposite of being blessed. It's proof that you're being prepared. Every prophet had a hidden season. Yusuf alayhi as salam had his well. Musa alayhi as salam had his desert. Muhammad, peace be upon him, had his cave. Each one was unseen before they were unforgettable, and their hidden years built the invisible faith that carried them through storms. You, too, are being written into that pattern. Your cave might be your loneliness. Your well might be your heartbreak. Your desert might be your delay. But all of them are classrooms, not prisons. You are learning endurance, even as you cry. You are learning surrender, even as you ache. There's a wisdom that only silence can teach. There's a strength that only stillness can give. There's a closeness to Allah that only comes when everything else fades. So stop rushing the process. Stop trying to bloom before your time. The sun will find you when your roots are deep enough to handle the light. Until then, keep watering your faith in secret. Keep tending to your character when no one is watching. Keep showing up for prayer, even when it feels like no one is listening. Because every moment you stay consistent in silence is a brick in the foundation of your destiny. When Allah finally decides it's time, the rise will be effortless. It won't need promotion or validation or noise. It will just happen, because the world can't stop what Allah commands to be seen. You will step into your purpose quietly, like dawn breaking the night. No announcement, no permission, just light spreading because it was meant to. You'll look around and realize that every tear watered something beautiful. Every lonely night softened you. Every disappointment redirected you. And every hidden day was a seed day. The invisible you that Allah built in private will become the visible peace the world can't explain. People will say, "Where did you come from?" And you'll smile, because you know. You came from the quiet. You came from nights of dua. You came from the cave of patience. You came from the mercy of being unseen until you were unshakable. So if you're in that hidden season right now, breathe. Don't hate the silence that is saving you. Don't despise the stillness that is refining you. Don't call this darkness, call it depth. One day, when you finally step into what was written, you'll realize you never missed anything. You were just growing underground, and the growth that happens underground is the only kind that lasts above it. The world might not clap for you yet, but the angels already do. They write every act you do in secret, every silent patience, every hidden kindness. every unspoken duja. And when the time comes, Allah will reveal what was hidden, not to show the world who you are, but to show the world who He is. The one who never forgets a heart that stays faithful in the dark. So stay hidden if He keeps you hidden. Bloom slowly if He slows your bloom. Trust the quiet if He keeps things quiet. Because when Allah finally says, "Now," your emergence will be effortless, your light will be steady, and your peace will feel like home. And you'll look back at every silent day and whisper, "Alhamdulillah for the hidden season. It didn't just build my life, it built my soul." Delay is the language of divine precision. You call it delay, but Allah calls it timing. You call it silence, but He calls it precision. Every second you spend waiting feels wasted, but in the unseen, 1,000 pieces are moving into place. You think nothing is happening, but heaven is busy. You think your dua has gone unheard, but angels are carrying every word, weighing them with mercy, matching them with the perfect moment you cannot yet see. If Allah gave you everything you asked for when you asked, you would receive half-built blessings. They would come without the wisdom to hold them. You would arrive at the right place with the wrong heart. So, He slows you down to let the rest of your soul catch up. There are prayers that feel forgotten, but some prayers are slow flowers. They bloom only after patience has softened the soil. When you think Allah is not answering, He is actually arranging. Delay is not distance, it is direction. It is Allah aligning your steps with unseen roads, protecting you from shortcuts that would collapse under your weight. He knows which bridge still needs building. He knows which heart still needs softening. He knows which version of you is ready to receive, and which version would misuse the gift. You ask, "Ya Allah, why not now?" And He answers through stillness, because later will last. Later, when you have learned gratitude. Later, when your ego is quiet enough to hear guidance. Later, when what you desire no longer competes with who you're meant to be. Delay is divine engineering. It is precision so exact that even your disappointments are calculations. He removes a person here, moves a circumstance there, slows a plan that would have outrun your maturity. Everything that seems late is exactly on schedule in the language of the most wise. Remember the Sunday. It never rises a second early, and yet the world waits in darkness for its light. Your dawn is the same. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be stopped. It will arrive when the horizon of your heart is ready to receive it. Some of the most painful pauses are actually pauses of protection. If He had opened that door when you begged, you might have walked into a storm you were too soft to survive. If He had said yes to that person, you might have lost the version of yourself He loved most. If He had given you success too soon, you might have confused fame with purpose. So He delays to teach discernment. He delays to make you choose faith over frustration. He delays until your trust is stronger than your timeline. You are not stuck. You are being synchronized. Your life is lining up with destinies you do not yet know exist. Someone else's duja might depend on your patience. A door you can't see is being carved by a craftsman you can't rush. Every "not yet" is a translation of mercy. When you feel left behind, remember that the path of Allah is not a race. It is a revelation. Every step is teaching you something about surrender. Every weight is washing something small out of your heart, so it can fit something eternal. Delay teaches you to see beauty in small things again. The way light lands on your prayer mat, the taste of water after fasting, the peace that visits when you say Alhamdulillah without reason. It strips you of dependence on outcomes and fills you with contentment in presence. Do you know why you keep checking the clock? Because you still think time belongs to you. But time belongs to the one who wrote it. He stretches and shortens it for whomever he wills. He hides miracles in minutes and lessons in years. You ask, how long must I wait? He asks, how much do you trust? And in that question lies the whole test. Delay builds a faith that comfort never could. It forces you to kneel not for answers, but for peace. It turns your impatience into prayer and your worry into worship. It chisels your arrogance into humility until your only words left are, whatever you will, Ya Allah. Every time you surrender like that, the delay shortens in meaning, even if it doesn't shorten in time. Because now the waiting itself becomes worship. Now the waiting is no longer wasted, it is sacred. Look back at your life. Can you see the pattern? Every time you cried for something that didn't come, something better eventually did. Every heartbreak that made you question him became the very proof that he never left you. What looked like a pause was preparation. What looked like silence was strategy. What looked like denial was redesign. He was not ignoring you. He was improving the gift. Sometimes Allah delays not to change the blessing, but to change you, so that when the blessing arrives, it finds a heart mature enough to handle it. There is a moment when waiting turns sweet. It happens when you stop counting the days and start counting the mercies that fill them. When you realize you are no longer chasing a thing, but becoming someone, that is the secret of divine precision. You will see it one day. The day everything clicks. The day every why turns into Alhamdulillah. You will look back and see the blueprint. How every delay built the foundation. How every pause positioned you perfectly. How every tear watered the patience that grew your garden. Allah never misses the timing. He is the author of it. He makes stars appear centuries after their light begins. He makes trees bear fruit only when their branches are strong enough. He makes you wait until your faith can carry the weight of what you prayed for. So the next time your heart aches for what hasn't come, sit still. Remember the seed in the soil. Remember the prophet in the cave. Remember the desert before the victory. They all waited. They all trusted. They all learned that delay is not denial. It is design. Let your heart rest in that. Allah is never early, never late. He is exact. He is deliberate. He is writing your story with the same precision He uses to move the planets. And when your moment finally arrives, you will see how perfectly it fits, how every rejection protected it, how every wait purified it, how every detour directed it. You will realize there was never a delay at all, only the unfolding of divine precision, one breath, one heartbeat, one prayer at a time. And you will whisper, through tears that finally taste like peace, Ya Allah, you were right on time. The loneliness that teaches sincerity. You sit in a room that feels too quiet for how heavy your heart is. There are no voices left to distract you, no plans left to chase, no message lighting up your phone. It's just you and the kind of silence that feels alive. You never knew quiet could be so loud. You used to think loneliness meant punishment. Now you are beginning to suspect it might be something else. Because even as it aches, it also humbles you. It strips away the noise that made you forget who you were when no one was watching. It empties your hands so Allah can fill them again. Loneliness isn't the absence of people, it's the absence of distraction. It's the place where masks fall off, where your soul finally has space to breathe. It's the invisible desert where sincerity grows. Slowly, painfully, beautifully. Allah removes the crowd not to punish you, but to purify you. He takes away the applause so your intentions can finally speak. He cuts off the conversations that used to feed your ego. so you can rediscover the sweetness of talking only to Him. You thought you needed more people, but you only needed more peace. In this quiet, your heart begins to speak a truer language. You stop performing. You stop explaining. You stop trying to convince others that you're worth staying for, because now you understand. If they could leave, they were never the source of your value. You whisper, "Ya Allah, I feel so alone." And He whispers back through the stillness, "Then talk to me properly now. I finally have your full attention." The lonelier you feel, the clearer His voice becomes. Every unanswered text becomes a reminder that you were never supposed to depend on human echoes. Every empty chair becomes an invitation to sit in remembrance instead of conversation. There are tears that never fall when you are surrounded. They wait for these nights, the ones where it's only you and Allah and the sound of your breath. These are the tears that clean the heart, that rewrite your faith line by line. Loneliness teaches you that sincerity is not saying you trust Allah. It's trusting Him when no one else is left to call. It's whispering Alhamdulillah when no one is clapping. It's doing good when no one sees you, and choosing kindness when there's no audience to praise it. Sometimes Allah hides you in solitude because the world has made too much noise in your mind. He needs you quiet enough to recognize His whispers again. You keep thinking people walked away, but maybe they were walked out of your story by His mercy, so your story could finally make sense. When the companions left, the Prophet, peace be upon him, still smiled, because he knew the one who sent them is the same one who took them back. You can survive anything when you remember that. There are nights when you reach for your phone and your fingers stop halfway. You realize there's no one you can message without pretending to be okay. That's when Allah calls your heart instead. He says, "Talk to me the way you talk to them. Complain, cry, ask. I am listening." Sincerity is born in those moments. The kind where your duda doesn't sound rehearsed anymore, where you stop quoting verses to sound strong and start speaking honestly because you're too tired to act, where you stop trying to pray perfectly and just say, "Ya Allah, I don't know how to fix this." That's when the angels smile, because they know a broken voice carries heavier than a proud one, and the prayer that shakes in fear is louder in heaven than the one that impresses people on earth. Loneliness shows you the difference between worship and performance. It reveals what remains when the audience disappears. Do you still do the right thing when no one is watching? Do you still pray when no one reminds you? Do you still thank Him when nothing changes? That's sincerity. It hurts to be unseen, but Allah hides you to purify your intention from needing to be seen. He removes the crowd so your deeds become conversation instead of exhibition. He takes away validation, so your heart learns that His acceptance is enough. You will notice something miraculous. The quieter your life becomes, the louder your peace grows. You stop chasing reactions. You start listening for guidance. You realize that solitude was never empty. It was sacred space. There is a beauty only those who tasted loneliness can recognize. The beauty of sujood with no witness, of crying without explaining, of saying, "Ya Allah," and feeling like that's enough. When you have no one else, you begin to remember everything you still have. The air that moves in your lungs, the Quran that never leaves your shelf, the prayer mat that waits patiently every night, and the mercy that visits you even when you forget to visit Him. People will ask, "How did you survive that season?" You will say, "By realizing I was never alone." They'll ask, "How did you stay patient?" You'll smile and say, "Because pain became prayer." You start to see loneliness differently, not as emptiness, but as clarity. You begin to understand that solitude is the womb of sincerity. What is born there changes everything. When you re-enter the world, you carry something rare, a heart that doesn't depend on applause, a peace that doesn't collapse when others leave, a strength that doesn't need to prove itself. That's what Allah was building in the dark. Every time you sat alone and whispered His name, if you were building roots the world can't pull out. Every time you cried quietly and still believed, you were polishing the sincerity that angels write about. You are learning what the saints and prophets learned, and that closeness to Allah often feels like isolation from everything else. The cave, the well, the desert, the night, all were classrooms of loneliness, and every graduate walked out glowing. So if you are in that class now, stay seated. Let the quiet teach you. Let the tears rewrite your prayers. Let the ache polish your heart. Let the silence show you who you are when the world stops watching. Because soon, when Allah opens your life again, you will speak differently. You will love differently. You will move with sincerity so pure that even your presence will feel like duhua. And when someone asks, "How did you learn to love Allah this deeply?" you'll answer, "In the nights when no one else was there." There comes a night when you stop fighting it. You stop refreshing the screen, stop waiting for the notification, stop checking if they remember you. Something inside you just exhales and says, "Maybe this is how Allah wants to hold me with no one else in between." And for the first time, the silence doesn't feel like an enemy. It feels like a hand on your heart, a soft reminder that love was never supposed to make you forget the one who created it. You realize that the ache you called loneliness was simply Allah asking for the part of you you kept giving away. Every soul has a season where it must walk alone. It's not punishment, it's pilgrimage. You are walking back to the center of your faith, back to the prayer mat that used to collect dust, back to the Quran that once comforted you like a friend. You will cry again. You will break again. And that's good. Cracks are how light enters. Through them, sincerity seeps in quietly, washing away the hidden pride that success had planted. Through them, humility takes root, because you finally understand what it means to depend. Loneliness makes you gentle. It softens the sharp edges that came from too much noise. It makes you slower to judge, because now you know what it means to hurt quietly. It makes you more compassionate, because only empty hands learn how to hold others carefully. When Allah isolates you, He is not ignoring you. He is tuning you. You were filled with voices that spoke over His guidance. Now He is clearing the static so you can hear the melody of mercy again. You begin to notice little things, how peace hides in small routines, how a single Subhanallah steadies your breathing, how dawn feels different when you wake for prayer, how tears taste sweeter when they fall during sujood. This is how sincerity grows, not in crowds, but in these quiet, unrecorded moments of remembrance. You'll start thanking Him for things you never noticed before. Thank you for keeping me alone long enough to learn myself. Thank you for teaching me that being unseen doesn't mean being unloved. Thank you for showing me that when everything leaves, you remain, and that's enough. The day will come when life gets loud again. People will return. Opportunities will knock. But something in you will have changed. You won't need validation the way you once did. You won't mistake attention for affection anymore. You will move through crowds without losing your center. That is what the loneliness was for, to build a center that can't be stolen. So when the world spins again, you will stand still inside it. Your peace will no longer depend on anyone's presence. Your faith will no longer shake from anyone's absence. And if another wave of solitude comes, as it always does, you won't be afraid. You'll make space for it. You'll greet it like an old friend. You'll say, "Come in, I know what you are here to teach me, because now you know, every time life gets down, Allah is speaking again. Every time people walk away, He's pulling you closer. Every time the phone stops ringing, the heavens start listening. That is sincerity, and to love the silence, not because it's easy, but because it's real. To keep showing up in worship when there's no reward but His gaze. To keep doing good when the world is too distracted to notice. To whisper, Alhamdulillah, even when your heart trembles from missing what was lost. And one day, you will sit beneath a sky full of stars and realize that solitude was never empty. It was full of unseen company. Angels, mercy, forgiveness, love. You were never abandoned. You were being taught how to see beyond sight. Loneliness taught you how to pray without words. It taught you how to listen without noise. It taught you how to belong without needing to fit in. It taught you that the sweetest companionship is feeling Allah near when everyone else feels far. Now, every time you fold your hands after prayer, you'll feel that quiet gratitude. You'll remember the nights that built it, and you'll whisper with a smile that only Allah can hear, the loneliness didn't break me, it purified me. Because the truth is, loneliness never lasts, only sincerity does. And once sincerity lives inside you, you are never truly alone again. You were never hidden, you were being revealed. You thought you were disappearing. You thought life was fading away from you. Opportunities, people, recognition, everything you once held close. It felt like the world stopped looking your way, like Allah Himself had tucked you behind a curtain of silence. But what you didn't know was that the silence was sacred. You weren't being hidden. You were being written. You were being sculpted in a place no one could reach. Because some versions of you can only be born in secrecy. Some light only glows in darkness. Some souls only grow when no one is watching. Allah never hides without purpose. When He conceals you, He is building something the world isn't ready to see yet. He keeps you in the shade, so your faith can take root before the heat of the spotlight arrives. He covers you like a craftsman covers his masterpiece while it's still unfinished, not to hide the beauty, but to protect it from being misunderstood. You think you're forgotten, but angels are still writing your patience every morning. You think you're unseen, but the Lord of the world still counts your tears before they fall. You think you're standing still, but the entire universe is quietly rearranging itself around the destiny that will unfold through you. What looks like invisibility is divine incubation. He's wrapping you in stillness, the way a seed is wrapped in soil. The world sees darkness. Allah sees potential. The world sees delay. Allah sees development. The world sees silence. Allah sees speech, the kind that only hearts fluent in pain can understand. You've mistaken pause for punishment, but pauses are where purpose breathes. He's slowing you down to show you what moves too fast to see. He's peeling away the noise so your soul can finally hear Him again. You don't need to be seen to be significant. You just need to stay faithful while you're unseen. Do you know what happens in this hidden phase? You rediscover what you lost in the noise. You find sincerity again. You learn to worship without witnesses. You begin to pray without needing proof that your prayer is working. You learn how to serve Allah without needing applause to validate it. You remember that faith was never meant to be a performance. It was always a relationship. Every time you say, Ya Allah, I feel invisible, He answers by holding your heart a little tighter. Every time you whisper, Why did you hide me? He replies, Because I didn't want them to see what I'm still perfecting. Because the truth is, if the world saw you before you were ready, it would have misunderstood you. It would have judged you by the unpolished version of your story. So he hid you, not to erase you, but to unveil you in the right light. The one that shows the mercy behind your scars, the wisdom behind your waiting, the beauty behind your breaking. You're not in the background, you're in the blueprint. You're not being overlooked, you're being over-prepared. Allah is writing a chapter the world will one day read through your piece. That's why the delay hurts so much, because you can't see the miracle being stitched together in secret. You wonder, why can't I be seen like them? Why is my light dim? But stars don't shine under the Sunday. They shine in darkness when everyone else has gone to sleep. And that's what you are, a star being trained by silence. Every time you feel unseen, he is refining the parts of you that can't be built in crowds. Humility, patience, consistency, gratitude. These are not glamorous, but they are eternal. They don't look impressive on the outside, but they make your soul beautiful in ways applause never could. You've been asking for elevation, but elevation comes through excavation. Before he raises you, he has to remove everything that can't rise with you. The approval you used to chase, the habits that quietly drained your barakah, the friendships that confused your purpose. So he isolates you. He makes you invisible to the wrong people, so you can become visible to the right ones at the right time. The same people who stopped noticing you will one day witness your peace and say, "We didn't see this coming," and you'll smile, because neither did you. You didn't see it coming, because Allah kept his work hidden until it was complete. That's how he works silently, perfectly, precisely. He doesn't announce his miracles. He releases them quietly through hearts that trusted him when no one else did. And you are one of them. You were never forgotten. You were being prepared for a kind of visibility that doesn't depend on followers or fame. You were being built for a platform that doesn't need validation, because it stands on peace, not popularity. When Allah finally reveals you, it won't be sudden. It will feel natural, effortless. The way dawn doesn't explode, it unfolds. Softly, gradually, beautifully. That's how you'll rise. And when you do, you'll realize you were never waiting for the world to see you. You were waiting for your soul to be ready to be seen. Because what good is being seen if the version they see isn't true? What good is recognition if your heart is still performing? Allah kept you hidden so your intentions could breathe. He removed the crowd so your sincerity could grow. He dimmed the lights so your heart could find the difference between doing good and being good. And once that difference became clear, you were no longer hidden, you were holy. Every heartbreak you endured in silence was part of the unveiling. Every unanswered dunya was a seed that sprouted roots underground. Every lonely night was a chapter he added to your strength. You thought you were waiting for something new, but he was revealing what was already inside you. This is the golden whisper of your story. You were never hidden. You were being revealed slowly, layer by layer, heartbreak by heartbreak, until only truth remained. Soon, you'll look back and see how even your isolation was public in heaven. The angels saw it. They recorded it. They celebrated your quiet victories when you thought no one noticed. And one day, when Allah decides to unveil you, the world will witness what heaven has been watching all along. That's not fame, that's fulfillment. That's not success, that's serenity. That's what it means to be revealed. And when that moment arrives, you won't say, "Finally, they see me." You'll say, "Finally, I see what Allah was doing." Because you'll realize you were never behind. You were simply being aligned. So don't curse your hiddenness. Don't rush your unveiling. Your time is not delayed, it's divine. Your silence is not empty, it's sacred. Your invisibility is not loss, it's protection. Stay steady. Keep showing up quietly. Keep building in secret. Because one day, Allah will lift the curtain, and what the world sees will not be new. It will simply be what He's been seeing all along. And you'll understand. You were never hidden. You were never unseen. You were just being revealed, gently, perfectly, beautifully, in the timing of the one who always knew you were meant to shine. And now, you finally understand why Allah hid you. It was never rejection. It was redirection. It was never delay. It was divine precision. It was never punishment. It was quiet protection. You were never forgotten. You were being guarded. You were never invisible. You were being refined. And everything you thought was ending was actually Allah adjusting the lighting, so the truth of who you are could be revealed in the right way, at the right time. Because when Allah writes your story, He hides the middle so the ending feels like a miracle. He blinds the world to your becoming, so only He can witness the version of you that no one clapped for. And when He finally decides to reveal you, you won't need validation. You won't need recognition. You'll walk with peace so deep that even silence will sound like dhikr. One day, you'll look back and realize the closed doors were the chapters that protected your destiny. The unanswered prayers were the gates that guarded your faith. The isolation that broke you was the cave that rebirthed you. And you'll whisper, Alhamdulillah, for everything I lost, because it taught me what can never be taken. Every delay, every heartbreak, every moment of loneliness, they were all holy, because they brought you here. Oh, to this calm, to this peace, to this realization that nothing was random. You didn't miss your destiny. You met it in silence. You met it in the nights you thought you were forgotten. You met it in the tears that never got answers, because those tears were the answers. And now, the world will see what heaven has been watching all along. The person who bloomed without attention, the soul that grew without noise, the believer who learned how to trust Allah, even when it didn't make sense. This is not your comeback. This is your unveiling. The story you thought ended, or was only beginning in the places no one saw. So walk slowly, walk humbly, walk with that quiet peace only those who've been hidden will understand, because you were never forgotten by Allah. You were chosen by Him to be built in silence and revealed in light. And when that light finally shines, it won't just reveal you. It will reveal the mercy that carried you through every closed door, every lonely night, and every whispered dua. And you will say, with tears that finally taste like peace, Ya Allah, you were never late. You were never silent. You were never gone. You were always with me. I just needed to be hidden long enough to see you clearly.